anytime you skip an opening, that means usually one of two things. Either A, a big action set piece, so you need to give a little more time than usual, so you skip that opening. Or two, in the Made in Abyss case, it means you're ready to be emotionally devastated. And there was something about this episode that hit me a lot harder than maybe I was expecting. I mean, if you watched the previous video, I said I expected a bloody massacre, and we got that, and it definitely surpassed my expectations. I think I even said in the video that I expect them to get ripped apart, and that literally happens. It's just, there's something about seeing it versus imagining, and the fact that they surpass what my imagination thought they would do, it's pretty devastating. But the thing that really gets me is actually getting the clarification of Reg and Fapta and just what ultimately happened, because I wasn't expecting anything too shocking in the way of we didn't see certain things coming. What it all boils down to is Reg met up with her when he was trying to go to the surface, it seems like, and they made a promise. And that promise was that when he comes back, they would leave hand in hand sort of a thing. And very much you can see her falling in love, and hell, Reg himself felt like he truly cared about her. But the thing that gets me with that is the moment with the stones, where she builds like a little Reg stone statue. It's just like a few stones stacked together, and she says she'll use that to talk and basically remember Reg by as she waits for him to return. And then you see this one shot where there is so many built, and then you see her cry to then visibly upset to then that pure rage take over. And that longing of waiting for the person who, the first person really for her that she felt like got her, understood her. You understood, I think, what was the straw that broke the camel's back. There's already the pain of her mother and how she wants to kill and set free so that she could finally be laid to rest, that this village that's been just looking at her, basically making her feel like a circus freak, right? All things considered, there was already enough there that you understood the rage, and I had great conversations in last week's comment section ranging from like, shit, like you understand certain characters and the wrath that could be applied to them, but there's so many people who are just really innocent bystanders in this, and how do you feel? Because you understand both perspectives of wanting to see people survive versus understanding that put in her shoes, who wouldn't have that level of rage of wanting to avenge and free your mother. But then to get the extra, I think, stab to the heart, the extra salt in the wounds, that is the Reg backstory. And I love how they didn't just like play it all in one go. During the entire fight, there was just these moments, like this first one, which I thought was such a brilliant directing choice, was with the helmet, in terms of how she originally stumbled on him and removed the helmet versus now trying to kill him in that moment. There's just so many great choices, and I think I've complimented it quite a few times, but it needs to remain to be complimented just because it feels like Fapta's voice actress just continues to elevate. The pure pain from screams to just distraught to visceral rage, there is such a range to this performance that elevates what's already superb voice acting across the board, whether it's the main cast, whether it's the hollows, but there's something about her vocal range that is just 10 times better. Not saying the other voices are bad in any way, but there's something about this locked away princess that visibly, what we've seen with the story, we already knew how painful it was, but it's like the perfect casting that I couldn't imagine hearing in any other no dub imaginable. I think could match exactly what I'm hearing here. And that's how you know you nailed what you needed to. Because when you go into a Made in Abyss season hearing, I think more manga readers say that this was their favorite arc than any of the other ones. I'm not saying everyone agreed with that statement, but that was a pretty common thought process, that the Golden City was their favorite and most painful arc. And that's kind of like, in terms of saying something's your favorite, well, up to this point, in my opinion, Made in Abyss has gotten better, so I could believe it. Up to this point, Made in Abyss has gotten more depressing, so I could believe it. But even similar to how when the opening doesn't play and you know you're in for something brutal, especially given the cliffhanger last week, hell, this week they even top it with seemingly Reg about to get the death blow and the jaws of death here. There's something about surpassing those already high expectations, but not because of something that you can't see coming, like a character got revived or some random shock value that just feels cheap and fake. No, Made in Abyss is like, for 10 episodes now for this season, we've been building up this connection to this very messed up village, where we've seen the highs and the lows and the neutrals. And to see it all get tore down, seeing the barrier come down, you start the episode, the first 5 minutes is pure pain seeing Midi for a second time be ripped away from this girl, but ultimately get freed, and just seeing the other little critters kind of come up and say, please take this with you so you don't forget us. It's just maximum depression. They literally established this episode watching us see characters be disintegrated, not even just random no-name faces, MIDI for the second goddamn time. And it really establishes that with the destruction that's already been applied, it feels next to impossible to save the village even if you wanted to. There's literally hellfire raining down. Village elder here is kind of like using these vines to seemingly protect the just general villagers, but I don't think that's going to be enough. So even if Apta was to be like swayed to not commit any more atrocities or to not kill any more, there's no way that they get out of this one, it feels like. But given the almost... Because if you look at the intro of the episode, there's still this hope for her that she'll see Mitty again someday. And almost like, maybe it's just her trying to have that, like, hopefulness, even though she may not believe it. Or maybe it's supposed to symbolize that maybe with the Abyss, you will meet everyone again. With the concept of reincarnation or spirits, you know, doing their thing. So maybe even if the villagers all do burn to ash or disintegrate, maybe they will get a second chance someday in the Abyss in a more peaceful setting. I don't know. All things considered is that the only ones who really feel like they have a shot at survival are the main characters. Everyone else is seemingly about to disintegrate, and you end the episode with one of our central characters about to be gnawed to death. Do I think he'll die there? Probably not, but we've literally seen him be violated inside and out. Arms can be ripped off. There's a lot worse than just simply dying for these characters, and who the hell knows what we're about to experience next. The music, once again, just beautifully directed. It kicks in at the appropriate moment after silence, or, you know, the sound effects and the voice actors kind of stealing the show, then the music takes the driver's wheel, and the transition to the ED never fails to impress me, but it's just the way that from visually to the audio, it just felt devastating. It felt not depression in the way that you wanted to curl up and cry, but just, was there another way? It almost feels like no, but it doesn't feel like the right solution, but what other solution was there, right? I think Made in Abyss is a masterclass at, I think, narrative directing in terms of using the world as its main crutch to get you established and the way the characters have grown and evolved. I mean, literally, you have characters like Riko who feel honestly kind of crazy at this point, but given she's been growing up in the Abyss, it's no surprise. You have just so many different perspectives, and they all feel just as interesting as the other now, rather than certain characters kind of stealing the show like maybe in season 1 I felt. But just, there's something about this village that I have such a disgust for it, such a repulsive feeling that I want to see it burn down, but then when you see it start to be burned down and tore apart, I sit back and I say, this is more repulsive than what I initially felt. So I'm literally just someone sitting back, not really saying I want the village to survive or not. I'm just watching whatever the hell happens, because there's so many conflicting feelings, and that's what this arc has done a great job at, both with the flashback, present day, and everything else in between. They've done a great job showing us the conflicting sides of both sides of that spectrum, and truthfully, whatever happens, I feel like I could be okay with, even though it's probably going to be devastating in its own way. Emotionally crushing, it was beautifully directed, the depression train does not discriminate, everyone goes aboard all the way to Painesville, and be interested to see where it goes from here. Thoughts, feelings, and theories if you got any down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.